So the type of screen time was the first factor I took into consideration when researching. And the second factor is the environment or capacity that the screen is being used in. Um, so more screen time has led to less parent-child communication, which has also led to less language stimulating activities. So the big picture is that the more screen time that a child is using, the less language stimulating activities there will be, which can lead to like a developmental language delay. The child isn't getting as much input for language. And one study even found that the time in children was significantly associated with the mother's screen time and usage. And this could be for a lot of different reasons. One reason might be that, like, a parent, their actions is like something that a child follows very closely. So if a child sees that, like, mom is on her phone all the time, why can't I be on my tablet all the time? Or like every time we sit on the couch, mom's on her phone, so I'll be on my phone. And it could also be that, like, maybe the mother wants to just sit down and relax and be on her phone, so she doesn't want to entertain her child, so she just gives her child a tablet, which leads to less parent-child communication, because there is no communication going on when the parent and child are both on their phones or using screen time. And then another factor is the amount of daily screen time. So this is taking into consideration how much screen time a child is having every single day. And children from families that have less or shorter education, they tend to have more screen time. And in one of my articles I found, it showed that an hour or more of screen time daily tends to lead to poorer language development compared to children who are on or who have screen time for less than 1 hour daily. So obviously there are some correlations with seen in, like, the 5 studies that I use for my research, that the more screen time there tends to be less interaction, less communication, which leads to poorer language development. And that's just in childhood. So we know that their childhood has a big part in the development of a whole person, and a lot of things that you learn in your childhood follows you into adulthood. So if these children are having these daily routines of being on their phone daily, or having screen time daily, or gaming for several hours every day, will that follow them into adulthood? And what are the effects? Are they going to be more significant, less significant? And these are things that should be studied in future research. And I think there's a lot of potential for future research with this, just because screen time is becoming a bigger thing, even with doing school online or, educational videos rather than, like, in-person talking with children. And like I said, another thing is how screen time affects development as a whole, and if that has long-term effects. So seeing if if a child has a lot of screen time in their younger years, if once they get in elementary or middle school, if they catch up with their language development, or if they stayed the same because they had so much screen time as a child. So I included some clinical applications just because a big reason why I wanted to do this topic is because I was seeing a bit of a change with the kids in the clinic this year. So here are some things that we could do as future SLPs, or even in the Hunter Hall Clinic. We can begin by asking the clients and their caretakers how much screen time they consume daily and in what forms. And this could be, very casual question like, hey, what do you like to do when you go home? Do you like to play video games? Do you like to watch TV? And usually you can find out, like, if they like rapidly name off, like, I like to watch this. These are my favorite games. I like to be on my tablet. I also have a PlayStation, and I have, like, all these other gaming stations. Like, you're going to know that their screen time is a lot higher. Rather, if you ask a kid and you're like, what do you like to do when you go home? And they're like, I like to read books and play with my siblings. Oh, what do you do with your siblings when you play? and maybe they'll say, I like to play this video game, or when I play with my siblings, I'm usually outside. And just from the simple questions, you can usually tell how much screen time they have, asking the child, and then asking the parent, they'll be able to give you more of, oh, we let them be on their phones for 10 minutes after dinner, or we don't really monitor that. We just kind of let them play their video games, let them be on their tablets, because that's what they like to do. And then you can also ask the caretaker at what age the child began consuming screen time. And I think that it's becoming more common that parents will answer, they've been on, they would like watch videos on my phone as a baby. I think that's becoming more common, seeing parents just give their kids their phone whenever they're crying to like settle them down, which isn't great. And then you can ask how screen time usage is in the home and among the family. And this goes back to the modeling with the moms that we talked about earlier. A lot of like what the family does is what the child is going to do. So it's important to model good behavior for the child, and see the trends among the children's screen time and the family screen time. And then after asking all these questions, you can use that information when you're evaluating, assessing, and treating the patient. I think it's important to take these things into consideration when treating, because you can think about where their language development is and how much screen time they're consuming, and finding the issue for maybe poor language development. Like if they have poor language development, asking yourself, is that due to the screen time, or is it because of other factors? And then you're able to dive in deeper to what the real issue is. And my last point, it says, use critical thinking to see if the screen time has affected their vocabulary development, which is what I just talked about. And then one of the last things I have is parental suggestions. So I think these are also really helpful, not only for us as clinicians, but a lot of us may be parents one day, or aunts or uncles, or just around younger kids. And I think it's important to take these things into consideration. And also, what should you be telling parents who have questions about their child's screen time when you're talking to them? I think it's important to remind parents that they're in charge of making the majority of decisions for their children. So when parents just hand their kid a phone at 8 months old when they're having a tantrum, the child is going to reach for the phone when they're upset. And maybe that's not good. Maybe parent can like find other ways to calm the child down, like talking to them rather than just giving them something that'll just fix it right away. And for parents to consider the effects of screen time before handing the screen over to the child. Maybe not a lot of parents understand the effects of a screen when they're younger, and it's just a quick fix and they don't know any better. So, my baby's been crying for 20 minutes and she only stops crying when she watches this TV show. So that's easy. I mean, who wouldn't want their child to just stop crying? They're going to choose the easy option, but maybe the easy option is not always the best option. So just reminding parents of that. And also talking about how parents need to model healthy consumption of screen time, because children will model what their parents do, and the models that you see in childhood often follow you into adulthood. So if a child's parent comes home from work, picks them up from daycare, and is always on their phone, talking on the phone, not interacting with their child, they might grow up to think that's normal. Like, why would I talk to other people when I can just be on my phone or talk to other people on my phone? So important to model good behavior. And another thing is to consider other activities that will allow for parent-child communication. So rather than taking the easy route of handing them their phone, maybe we can think about other things that would be good. Like let's play a board game together, or we can color together, or we can build a fort. Because really any communication with a child is great. And when you give them a phone, it takes away from that. So, taking them to even things like taking them to the grocery store or wrapping Christmas presents together is really good. It's important just to incorporate your child in any activities rather than giving them something that's more of a passive activity. You want more of active activities so that they can get good language and communication development. And here are my references. I use 5 different research articles for my research. And that's all.